It's Wednesday, January 31st. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. On today's show, we talk with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. He talks about a homicide that took place over the weekend, as well as an ice rescue. Then we'll talk about the recent snow event with DPW Director Dan Santos. And finally, we check in with Town Clerk Ann Quirk. Now let's get a look at today's top headlines. The Our Unload program displays the works of local artists on meeting room walls in Barnstable Town Hall. Currently on display are works by Barnstable High School students in the hearing room and the Selectmen's Conference Room. A view of Sandy Neck through the eyes of Barnstable High School art students is on display in the hearing room, and graphic design student work in the Selectmen's Conference Room, now through March 16th. The Barnstable School Committee will be hosting a workshop tonight, January 31st at 7 p.m. The school committee workshop will focus on the Barnstable Public Schools Master Field Plan. The workshop will be held at the Barnstable Intermediate School in the second floor library. A note from the Assessor's Department: FY 2018 abatement applications are due in the Assessor's Office by this Thursday, February 1st. FY 2018 statutory exemption applications, including residential exemptions, are due in the Assessor's Office by Monday, April 2nd. More information can be found online at townofbarnstable.us on the Assessor's Office page. The Town of Barnstable has over 40 committees and commissions with approximately 291 seats. Citizen participation is exemplary, and the Town Council appreciates each and every member who serves. If you are a resident registered to vote in the Town of Barnstable and interested in serving on a board or committee, please fill out an application by visiting townofbarnstable.us. For a more detailed description and responsibilities of the committees, please contact the Town Council office at 508-862-4738. The Appointments Committee, made up of 5 town councilors, will interview applicants and make recommendations to the Town Council, who vote to appoint members at their regular meetings. Coming up next, Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Chief, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a few things we want to chat about. First thing I want to talk to you about is there was a murder over the weekend. What can you tell us about this?
We are investigating a homicide which occurred about 2:30 Saturday morning. A cruiser on routine patrol observed an individual laying on the side of the street at the intersection of General Patton Drive and Bursa's Way. The officer pulled over. He thought the person was unconscious or perhaps having an overdose, so they immediately began doing CPR. When they rolled the individual over, however, they discovered that he'd already deceased. They called the High Rescue Squad, and the cause of death was determined a short time later when he was declared dead at CCH. The individual was identified as Jermaine Taylor. He has a Falmouth address, however, he is well known to the Barnstable Police Department. At one point, he did live in town of Barnstable. He did just recently get out of MCI Shirley. He did 8 years of a 10-year sentence for trafficking in cocaine. He was released on, I believe it was December 29th. And we're in the process now of backtracking everything that he may have done for the last couple of days and trying to put everything together out there. There is some evidence at the scene, and of course the police department canvassed the entire neighborhood, looking to talk to anyone who might have heard or saw anything that particular night.
Wow. Would you say that this is an isolated incident?
It is an isolated incident. We knew what Mr. Taylor was doing. We knew we suspected that he was back in business, and that's a very competitive business that he's in. And apparently, he got some people upset, and they retaliated at him. But there certainly was not a random event. I mean, he was targeted. So that's quite obvious to us.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting us know about this.
It's unfortunate because that whole area of town, Bursa Way, GP Drive, Fresh Hills, Hammer Road, is really starting to turn around. 6-7 years ago, we had a lot of problems in that general area, but we haven't had any problems down there in quite some time. So this is an unfortunate occurrence. It
is unfortunate. I know that you guys have put a lot of work and effort into, helping out that area. So hopefully this will be just kind of a one-off, and we can move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
And go from there. We also want to talk about a rescue that happened over the weekend at Patty's Pond.
Right.
A woman ran out onto the ice and fell in.
Right. We had a call about 9:22 Saturday morning. Actually, most of the department was working because the homicide had occurred. The call came in regarding a a white female who was unclothed, naked, walking down a dirt pathway heading into the pond. She was observed going out onto the ice. The crews were there within a matter of minutes. They did see her. They tried to stop her. However, she was already a significant way out there. They did not want to go out onto the ice because with their additional weight, the ice certainly would have broken through. However, she did get out to about 100 yards out, and she did fall through the ice. Fortunately, CNO rescue was already en route. And as soon as the rescue squad arrived, Captain Burchill put on an exposure suit, and he was able to break his way through the ice and get out there and provide assistance to her and hold her above the water until the rescue float got out there, was able to bring her back into shore, and she was transported to CCH, and she's going to be fine.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear.
They did a good job. CNO Fire Department did an outstanding job.
Good, great. And the other thing we want to talk about today is we are filming this interview on Tuesday morning where there's a lot of snow falling.
Yes.
We just want to remind everyone to take it easy.
Yes, they have to take it easy. I was just coming into work, and I only live 3 miles from the station, but there are accidents all over the place, especially the side roads, the feeder roads. The main streets are pretty well sanded. They have salt down, 132, Route 28, Finney Lane. The main roads are in pretty good shape. However, the side roads, they are snow covered. It's ice packed. Some are still melted. Now it's freezing. It is very, very slippery, so please drive appropriately.
Right, and especially with this, we have warm weather and then we have cold weather.
Yeah, exactly.
The roads are wet before it starts to snow, and that can freeze up, and once the snow is on the road, you don't know what's underneath it, so you want to be very careful and take your time.
That's right. Even if you have a four-wheel drive, if you're on ice, it's not going to make any difference.
No, it's not at all. You're just going to
drive slowly, give yourself some more time, and do not tailgate.
Yeah, it's worth it to be a few minutes late to work or to school just to make sure that you're safe and your family's safe.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Chief, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Good talking to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. My guest today was Barnstable Police Chief Paul McDonald. Coming up, we'll catch up with Town Clerk Ann Quirk, but first, DPW Director Dan Santos. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. We want to talk about, there was not as big as a storm as they said that we were going to get yesterday, but it was, it was still a pretty good storm. Snow-wise, it was warm beforehand, so the roads were wet. So let's talk a little bit about how that storm is gone.
Well, sure. It's actually been very much like a number of the other storms we've had this year, which have been kind of slow in coming, predictable, with a rain-snow line and temperatures, hovering around freezing or in the 30s, rain-snow line somewhere on or to the west of the Cape, and we just keep getting hit with them. And they're a little tough to call because we don't want to overdo it with our services, but we also want to make sure that the roads are safe. So in this case, like the others, we were prepared before the storm hit, had people standing by, and then as rain changed to snow, we started plowing and salting the main roads. We start with the salt, and then as the snow does build up, slowly we'll start scraping the snow with the plows and salting again to keep the mains in good shape. In the storm, we didn't have to deal with the secondary roads because we didn't have the accumulation that was predicted. And the day before the storm, they were looking at, 1 to 6 inches, depending on who you watch. And
right.
We watch a number of stations. We have a number of computer apps that we look at, and they really varied quite a bit. But in the end, it was on the just a couple of inches, concentrated mostly in the early morning of yesterday.
Yeah, and so these storms that we keep getting them. They're, like you said, they're hard to tell what's going to happen. It makes it hard for you to know exactly how much you're going to have to put out. It's hard for the school department to decide we're going to have school, we're not going to have school, we're going to have a delay, not delay. We just want to remind people that, these storms, they could be big, they could be small, but you should always be prepared and make sure you are cautious when you're out driving on them, on the roads, because...
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing people can do is, well, 2 things. One is if they don't have to be out, don't drive. It's just there's a risk when you drive in snow and ice weather. There's just a risk over, better conditions. And secondly, if you have to be out, just slow down.
Yeah.
Nothing is so important that you have to try to race or use the normal speed limit, because even with the cars today that are safer with automatic brake systems and all that, you still slide when you hit those brakes, and you could get in an accident, either hit another car, or you have a lot of people that have gone off the road and hit a tree or damaged their cars, and it's really simply a matter of just too much speed in conditions that didn't warrant that.
Right. Better be safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Yes. Is there anything else going on with the DPW right now that you'd like to chat about?
Well, we're working with the town manager's office on the capital program that'll be presented to the council probably in April. Mm-hmm. So, in the fall we submit all our needs, and then over the ensuing months we meet with a committee that reviews them and the town manager, and we hone in on a program that'll be presented. So we've been spending a lot of time doing that, and also on our operating budget. A very similar process that comes a month later than the capital budget, but we're already starting to think about what we're going to be doing this summer and getting things ready for our next batch of road and drainage repairs. So there's a lot of engineering and planning that's going on.
Mm-hmm. It's, you kind of want to say, oh, it's a little quiet. Maybe there's not as much road work and things going on, but I feel like there's never a quiet time. You guys are always working on something, like you said, CIP and the budget, and this is a very busy time of year for, everyone in the town, but especially the DPW department.
Yeah, we just have the added factor of weather, but
right.
We're always busy.
That always throws a little wrench into things. It's like,
right.
Okay, there's a storm coming, put this down, now move over to this.
Right.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jan, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I'll chat with you again next week.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, bye. My guest today is Dan Santos. He's the director of the Department of Public Works. And thank you so much for joining us today. We have so much to talk about.
We do.
It's been a little while since you've been in. The first thing we'll start on is what we talked about the last time you were in. Census. This is my census. I haven't handed it in yet, but I'm going to.
Oh, I'm so glad, because we really do want to get that census from you.
I know. I'm really good. I always return them every year, and everyone out there should. So let's talk a little bit about that and why it's important to return the census.
It's so important for so many reasons. If you have, or someone in your family has gone into the service and been overseas and come back, they can get a bonus from the state of Massachusetts. And the bonus is, I believe, $1,000. In order for them to get the bonus, though, they have to prove they were a resident in the town of Barnstable or somewhere in Massachusetts, wherever it was. If your parents didn't send in the census every year with your name on it, I can't prove that you were a resident in the town of Barnstable. Now, we don't publish all that stuff, but after the age of 18, yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have it once you've hit 17, and we can start carrying your name. But we have it in other areas too. But it's important that it comes in on the census, so we have something to go back and look at.
Yeah, exactly. So these go out to the heads of every household.
Yes.
And then the head of the household should be putting, if there are other people living in the house that are over 18 or under 18, their name should be on here.
Their name needs to be on there because, for instance, look at the children coming into the schools. For that alone, our school department has to kind of be aware of how many children are going to enter the first grade or enter kindergarten, or or coming in and they're entering into the 5th grade. We want to know so we have space.
Right. It's important.
It is.
It's so many things that you don't think about. You think about the census and you think, oh, it's just for voting. If I skip it this year, it's not a big deal because it takes a while for me to get off the voter roll or whatever, but it's so much more than that.
It is.
And people
so
need to
much.
understand that it's not just for voting. It's so, the story you told me about the woman in Osterville who, she can't prove that she lived in Osterville at one point, so she can't get some money that's out there, some unclaimed money. So, it's in your best interest to make sure that you're filling out the census, you're listing every person who lives in your household.
And especially your children, because there's, for so many reasons, for scholarships from other areas of Massachusetts where they don't know you, from returning soldiers, or how many children are going into our schools. There's so many different reasons. And it also the census is also what is looked at by our state government and our federal government when they're looking at grants and what we might need as far as help for our school systems or anything.
Yeah, the population. It's important to know.
It is important.
If people have any questions on filling out the census, no problem giving you guys a call.
Please call us. We're willing to talk to you. We love to talk with you. It gives us a little person to chat with, and you know, I love that. It's not a problem at all.
Great. And you don't have to mail your census back in. There's a box here at Town Hall. There's boxes in all of the libraries.
Correct.
So you don't have to spend the postage. Just drop it off.
Yes, excellent. And we were asked about that, and honestly, when you figure out when you send out over 20,000 heads of household, the stamps get up there price-wise.
Yeah.
So we spent a little over $8,000 to mail all these out, and to put a stamp on them to get them back again is, you know, it's spending taxpayers' money. I like to try and keep it to a minimum. So that's why the boxes are at the libraries. There's boxes in Town Hall. There's boxes by the collector's office. So when you go to pay your taxes, you can just drop it off.
Perfect. You don't have to spend that postage.
No, you don't.
Wonderful. So hopefully everyone will take their census. I'm going to do mine today. It's actually been sitting on my desk for about a month, so waiting for this interview. I was saving it for today.
Yay.
So we're also going to talk about annual gas storage license renewal, which mostly pertains to businesses, but I think it's important that people understand what this is.
In order for you to store gasoline or diesel or oil, you have to have, or propane, you have to have a tank. And if you have a tank, then over a certain gallons size, I believe it's 500 gallons, you have to have a license to do that. And the license comes through from the Board of Health and the fire department and all of that. But annually, you have to have something posted in your place of business if you're a gas station, or sometimes there are other businesses that are not gas stations, but they do have gas storage tanks. And they can be above ground or they can be underground, but you have to have a license. And the Board of Health and the fire department, if something happens, they're looking for those licenses. So it's an annual renewal. We start sending the letters out in March. And we hope to have them all back by April so that we can get everybody squared away.
It's important to know where those tanks are, I imagine, for the fire department and the health department.
Absolutely.
If there's an issue, if there's a fire in that area, they might want to know, okay, there's a 500-gallon underground storage gas tank in this neighborhood or in this business area. We've got to make sure the fire doesn't go near it because that could be catastrophic. And if there's a leak in the area, the Board of Health will want to know. So.
Absolutely, you're correct on all counts.
Wonderful, that's perfect. I'm glad that we're talking about that because I think, you know, maybe people don't understand. Oh, it's not a big deal. If I've had it for years.
Yeah, it is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, for the households like my own, I have an oil tank for my oil to heat my house. But it's 200 gallons. It's not something we worry about. But it's those businesses that are over 500 gallons of whatever that we just have to keep track of.
Right. So another thing we have is very exciting. It's always, I love Barnstable's Best Dog. So dog licensing is coming up. It's going to be in April. April 1st is when that begins, correct?
Yes, we look for the pictures to start coming in April so that we have them up for about a month before we actually sell the licenses. And it's so much fun for everyone because we post them at Town Hall on a bulletin board in the town clerk's office. And when you come in for whatever reason, you're coming in because you need a birth certificate or you want to get married or, you know, whatever reason you come in, you can vote for Barnstable's Best Dog. And that best dog gets the #1 tag.
And they get it for free.
They get it for free,
so
absolutely.
You know, you could win. And you could be the Barnstable's Best Dog, get your dog tag for free. I mean, the incentive, you get your application in early, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. And what we will do is we will mail out your dog tags after the contest is over. But yes, we have a good time with it. People enjoy it. We enjoy it. And you know, we're all dog lovers, I think, and that's why. But it's a fun time for us at Town Hall, and we enjoy that month of looking at all those pictures.
Yeah, there's some cute dogs out there.
There are some adorable dogs. And some of them are big and some of them are little. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's how people vote. So it makes it fun for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. The last thing we want to touch on before I let you go is the election schedule is out for this year. And there's a lot of dates to remember. There's, you know, let's just jump right in.
Sure. There's at this point in time, there's a 20-day grace period between when you register to vote and when the voting list is actually tabulated and put together for each election. So everyone needs to be registered to vote by August the 15th for the first primary election, which is going to be the state primary on September 4th. And I didn't mean to say first. It is the state primary election this year. The reason that they do that is to give us time to put everything together for the election. That also helps, having the state primary that early is so that we can get those absentee ballots out and all of that stuff that needs to be done prior to any election. The state primary is basically to pare down the number of people running for office for when the state ballot comes out in November. And we have quite a few people on the state ballot. We have U.S. Representative and U.S. Senator, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and it just goes right down the line. And if you have any questions, please call us. We'll be happy to talk to you. But that's where we stand right now. So September 4th is the day after Labor Day.
Right.
So that will be the state primary. Currently at the legislature, they're looking at maybe making that 20-day period shorter. We haven't heard anything on it yet, so we're going with what we know today. Right. So August 15th, you have to be registered to vote by August 15th. Our office will be open until 8 o'clock. That night, you can register to vote in many different ways. Through the Secretary of State's office, with an online registration, through our office. Most of the libraries have our voter registration cards, or just call us so we can help you.
Yeah. When you have these later office hours to allow people to register to vote, do you tend to get quite a few people that come in?
No.
No. But it's good to have it just in case.
We do have it just in case, but we really don't see people after.
You want to be sure that people have the opportunity. You know, they won't say, "Oh, I couldn't register to vote because I had to work," or you know, you're open from basically 8:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
That's
so
correct.
Hopefully, people can stop in and make sure they're registered. It's very important to exercise our right to vote.
It is.
Yes.
And the polls are open on Election Day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. so that we can catch everyone in all 13 precincts. And the state election will happen on November the 6th this year. So then there'll also be a second last day to register to vote on October 17th.
Right. So you can be prepared and ready to go.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, Ann. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And everybody out there, return your census ASAP. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
My guest today is Ann Quirk. She's the town clerk here in the town of Barnstable. Let's take a look at this week's community calendar. The Barnstable Senior Center is hosting Garden Talk, starting your plants from seed, on Thursday, February 1st from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Now is the time to plant a garden. Whether it is tomatoes or flowers, Irene Cooper, Master Gardener, will help you get your plant started from seed. This is a cost-saving approach to enjoying the beauty and bounty of spring and summer. Seed packets will be available on a first-come basis. Think spring and RSVP by calling the Senior Center at 508-862-4750. Another fun class at the Barnstable Senior Center is Soup with Marcia. Soup season is here, and Marcia Rafferty wants to share her soup recipes with you on Thursday, February 1st and March 1st from 1:30 to 3 p.m. If you've never made your own, you may be surprised to discover just how easy it is to prepare soups. They require very little work and can provide nourishment for an entire week. Don't miss this fun taste of soup with Marcia. February will be pasta fagioli, and the March soup is kale. Here's a look at this week's board, committee, and commission schedule. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with an all-new show. On Thursday's show, we'll talk with Cape and Island State Senator Julian Cyr and Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.